Hi YouTube, it's Tracy from Queen of the Board, and today I'm playing a solo scenario called Time Story from Wild Gardens. This is a beautiful foraging game, 1 to 4 players. You're going around your garden, gathering ingredients to cook recipes and serve people. Especially awesome that it comes with its own solo scenario book. The scenarios are independent, so you can play them in any order. And yeah, come and join me. Designed by Isaac Vega, Wild Gardens has a really good action mechanism that I'm very much enjoying. Double-sided player boards. I'm on the solo side right here. All of my actions are listed on the board, and each turn I'm going to be placing out one of these markers, choosing the action. But the first thing I need to do when I do this is move my character around the garden following the arrows, the number of spaces indicated on the marker that I have chosen. So for example here, I might move to here, and now I can forage twice, meaning that I can take ingredients from any of the connected resources, mushrooms here, acorns, or raspberries. Another thing I can do is prepare and cook a recipe. To do this, I need to be on one of these picnic tables because where else am I going to put all my kitchen equipment? Once I have prepared one of the available recipes from this display, I can then come back and again, if I'm on a picnic table, choose to serve one of the available guests. Now, because I'm playing a scenario, that's working a little different, and the scenario will be telling me who is available to serve. Another thing you can do on your turn over here is visit the library. Over in the library, I can borrow up to 1 book per action, but 2 total until I return them. And let's say I'm here, I'm next to mushrooms. I could potentially take the mushroom book out. And if I do that, I can choose the action and place it on my board. So the next time I come to perform this action, I would get to forage 3 times in this example. So you're really beefing up your action capability, looking for efficiencies. I think it's a really fun mechanic. Finally, in this location, I could also choose to reserve recipes. Now, I'm not competing with anyone else at the moment. If I were, that would mean they would only be for myself. However, it also gets me 2 points. Speaking of points, the points mechanic in this game is also really cool. Up here on this beautiful board, you can see at the top, there are actually 2 markers. The first one, the jar, will be jumping from jar location to jar location, and you'll see how that works as we play later on in the game, but it's going to be dependent on the number of jar symbols that are in front of me when that can move. And I'll be looking to collect more jar symbols by serving certain guests, looking for those opportunities. Once I've prepared a recipe, that will also get me points as shown on the cards. And also, of course, serving guests is going to get me some points. Sometimes I get benefits when they're served, sometimes at the end of the round. There are a couple of free skills that are also marked out on the board. I can pay 3 matching ingredients that I have foraged and exchange them for any 1 ingredient of my choice. I can also choose to return one of my library books, freeing up some space, if I can pay a matching ingredient. So in this example, I would need to pay a mushroom and it would go back to the library, freeing up more opportunities for me to go visit and borrow more books later on. Once I've placed all of my markers on my board, that is the end of 1 day. You'll see at the top of the board, we have 3 days in a trip, and I'll be placing a marker out, such as this. I get to choose which one, and then taking the benefit, depending on the card here. These trip cards, there's a whole deck of them, and they simply flip over to give you a location, and that will also give you an at the beginning of each day benefit. So a lot of replayability with this game, lots of variation, it's really fun. I think it's time to get to it. This is not a rules teach, I will be making mistakes. Let me know in the comments if you spot them. I find that to be super helpful, especially as I'm playing on my own. There's no one here to help me. And finally, spoiler alert, there are 7 scenarios for solo play in this book. They are completely independent. You can play them in any order. There are also some more scenarios if you buy the little expansion packs. However, I'm going to be playing scenario number 3 today, Time Story. So there will be some story spoilers. If you're okay with that, then come and join me. Scenario 3, Time Story, Introduction. Amidst the tranquil allure of nature's embrace, a perfect day unveils itself for an exhilarating foraging expedition. The melodious symphony of birdsong echoes in the vast expanse of the sky, while a gentle breeze caresses the lush foliage enveloping your surroundings. Engrossed in collecting your beloved mushrooms, their flavors at their peak during this bountiful season, an unexpected disturbance shatters the serenity. A resounding boom reverberates behind you, reminiscent of thunderclaps, accompanied by a fleeting glimpse of something mysterious, momentarily caught in your peripheral vision. Perplexingly, there isn't a single cloud adorning the otherwise pristine sky. Compelled by curiosity, you embark on a quest to unravel the enigma. Your exploratory journey leads you to the source of the disturbance, a diminutive brown pigeon, convulsing amidst a pile of feathers and bark. It appears as though it dislodged from a neighboring tree that it had careened into with a mighty crash. Tenderly, you gathered the injured creature in your hands, and within a matter of minutes, it shows signs of recovery. However, an odd sensation lingers within you as you discern a faint rumbling emanating from the pigeon's tiny belly. A plaintive plea for sustenance. Set up as usual, however, instead of placing 6 random guest cards, here we only have Gigi, our new friend. There are no special rules for this scenario, and the goals are to complete all of the milestones from the story, and we get extra achievements depending on how many points we score. 50 for a standard achievement, 65 for an epic, and 90 for a legendary achievement. So our first milestone to begin the game is simply to serve Gigi, and Gigi is looking for a meal of any chef's choice. She's going to be worth 3 points, and when we have served her, we'll get to read story point 141. Let's go. We begin in Denver, Colorado. So at the beginning of each day in Colorado, I have a choice to either forage twice or start with some bark, some leafy greens, and some acorns. And I think I'm going to go ahead and choose the second option. So we take bark, leafy greens, and an acorn. That gets us off to a nice start. Now, I'd really like to improve my actions first of all, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and use my number 1. I'm going to come this way and visit the library. I'm next to the acorns, the mushrooms, and the raspberries. So first I'll take a mushroom library book out, which means I get to gain this extra forage action. So let's go here, and this instantly refills. A little rummage in the bag, and we find a mushroom resource. So next I'm going to use my number 2, travel twice, and forage. So I'm going to take 2 leafy greens and 1 of these aquatic plants. Next I'm going to use number 3 over here. 1, 2, and I whip around the board to here. I'm next to the acorn, so I'm going to borrow the acorn book and take the plus or minus 1 travel action right here. That will make it easier for me to land on a picnic table when I want to prepare food or serve it to a guest. Pulling out another forage. I'm going to use my 1 to 4 and prepare some food. Here, I'm on the picnic table. So Gigi is interested in any food at all. She's starving. And a salad lunch looks pretty good. So let's prepare the purslane salad. That cost me 2 leafy greens. Back into the supply, I gain 2 points. 1, 2. And immediately refill, finding turnip stew for dinner. Finally, with my 4 marker, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and thanks to this, I can stop right here and serve a guest next. So here we go. We're gonna serve Gigi. So we set this aside. I gain 3 points. And when served, I gain 3 bark. Thank you, Gigi. Now let's read story point 141. As the little pigeon contentedly feasts on the nourishment you've provided, a sense of relief washes over you. The creature appears fully restored, yet you remain puzzled by the circumstances surrounding its collision with the tree. Could the sudden noise have startled it? To err on the side of caution, you decide to take the bird to a veterinarian for a thorough examination. Before you can set your plan in motion, however, an intriguing figure emerges from the thick foliage, garbed in a striking steampunk attire. With an air of urgency, he demands that you release the pigeon, brandishing a peculiar device that bears a resemblance to a phaser from an otherworldly realm. Perplexed, you cautiously inquire, "Why should I release the bird?" Its tiny form shudders in your protective embrace. "That creature in your possession," he proclaims with a sense of urgency, "is a paradox pigeon, one of the most dangerous beings in existence. Its presence here can only signify one thing, an aberration within this timeline, and we..." His words abruptly halt as he collapses to the ground, a luminous glow emanating from his prone body. Moved by compassion, you hasten to his side, offering assistance. He groans, his voice strained. "Food," he manages to utter. "I beseech you, anything edible will suffice. Space caviar, 4-dimensional lobster, or whatever sustenance you can procure with haste." Without pausing to contemplate the bewildering turn of events, you spring into action, scouring your surroundings for any available nourishment, determined to provide aid to the enigmatic stranger in need. Milestone number 2, search the guest deck for Dominic and add that card to the supply. Serve Dominic and see if you can save this mysterious stranger. Ooh, let's find Dominic. Here's Dominic. Now, Dominic's going to be worth 6 points to us. He is looking for a dinner meal and a meal of our choice. After he's been served, this card gives a benefit when he is discarded to gain skill tokens, so that's pretty cool. Now, looking at the top of the available recipes, we could either prepare a pasta dinner option or a stew, neither of which is really great for my ingredients. For the chef's option, I'll say that maybe the shortbread would be a good one. It's not worth lots of points, but it is easy and will use up some of my bark. Now, it is the end of my day as I've used all of my tokens, and I think I'm going to choose to put out token number 2 for day 1, and I get to forage twice thanks to that. These come back to me, and I'm going to grab a raspberry and a mushroom. And because it's the start of a new day in Colorado, I think I'm going to go ahead and grab the bark, leafy green, and acorn again. I'm going to use my 1 to 4 here, moving twice, and foraging. I'm going to grab 2 onions and a mushroom. Next, I'm going to use my number 1 marker, taking advantage of the plus and minus 1, and travel 1, 2 onto this picnic table. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and prepare the turnip stew. So we need 2 onions, or maybe it's garlic, a raspberry, a leafy green, and a mushroom. That gains me 4 points. Refilling, we find a honeysuckle iced tea. I'm going to use my number 3. 1, 2, 3. And again, prepare another recipe, this time the birch shortbread, which is costing me 2 bark. It is worth 2 points. Refilling, we find an asparagus casserole recipe. And finally, I'm going to travel with my number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And yep, I'm going to serve Dominic. Dominic was looking for a dinner recipe and a recipe of my choice, so I think he's going to enjoy the turnip stew and the birch shortbread. That was worth 6 points. And next we read story point number 112. As you serve the stranger a plate of nourishment, the peculiar luminescence gradually subsides. Thank you, he utters, a hint of apology colouring his words. With a composed demeanour, he begins to explain his initial confrontation. You see, I have been in search of someone who has caused a disturbance in this compromised timeline. He clarifies, his tone softened. I had mistaken you for the culprit, but now I see my error. You seem intimately acquainted with this timeline, and your remarkable foraging skills have left an indelible impression on me. Dare I say, that was one of the most extraordinary meals I've experienced in a century. Though his appearance belies his claimed age, seemingly no more than 30, an inexplicable trust begins to root within you. The stranger introduces himself as Dominic, the Time Master, and reveals his mission to repair his time-traveling device, a necessary step in locating the person responsible for the timeline's instability. Though a sense of skepticism tugs at your thoughts, you contemplate the gravity of the situation. If Dominic speaks the truth, aiding him could hold the key to preserving your very existence. Determined, you resolve to assist him in repairing his device and decide to escort him to the most reputable repair shop you know, Miss Ruby May's Miraculous Repairs. If anyone possesses the expertise to restore Dominic's time-traveling device, it is undoubtedly Miss Ruby May. Along the journey, you decide to bring her a selection of delectable treats, hoping to soften the impact of the astonishing revelation about Dominic's nature as a time master. Milestone 3! Search the guest deck for Miss Ruby May and add that card to the supply. Serve Miss Ruby May and see if you can fix Dominic's device. Miss Ruby May is looking for dessert and a recipe of my choice. Currently, we don't have any dessert recipes out on the display. I'm hoping that after we prepare something, one will show up. Let's see what happens. And at game end, she's going to give us additional points depending on how many skill tokens we've equipped. So that's pretty cool because I do love my skill tokens. It's the end of the day, and this time I'm going to place out a number 1 and take 2 of the garlic. As it's the start of the day once again in Denver, Colorado, this time I'm going to choose to forage twice and grab myself some mushrooms and bark. For the first time, I'm going to take advantage of the free skills and pay a matching ingredient to return a book. We're going to give back the acorn book. Then I'm going to travel 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And once again, visit the library to take out the acorn book again as I'm right next to it because I really want this extra foraging action. And I think we're going to put it here this time. And once again, I'm going to pay another acorn to put the acorn book back, leaving myself with another spot. I'm going to use my 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this time take out the raspberry book, gaining this skill, placing it here. And this time, anytime I'm adjacent to a raspberry resource, I'll gain an extra bonus point. And this skill means that if I provide whatever is the main ingredient at the moment, I'll get to forage twice. Finally, using my 1 to 4, we're going to travel 1, 2, 3, 4, plus or minus 1. So I land here on the picnic table and I can prepare a meal. I am adjacent to the raspberry right here, so I get a point. And I'm going to prepare the garlic mustard salad. So that's 1 bark, 1 garlic, and 1 mushroom. That gets me 3 points. And it is the end of my final day. So I'm going to place out my 1 to 4 and forage twice. This time I'm going to grab myself a mushroom and a raspberry. Because it is the end now of my first trip, after completing 3 days, we have a couple of extra things we're going to be doing. I am going to refresh the recipes list and also refresh the location of all the ingredients on the board. Be right back. Next, I'm returning all the books to the library and refreshing the skill tokens. So this skill will gain me a point if I'm adjacent to the mushrooms. This will gain me a raspberry, a foraging action, or the recipe ingredient of the choice on the back of the cards here. Next, all the action tokens have come back to me and we're going to change locations for the second part of our trip. We're headed to Anchorage, Alaska for our next journey. At the beginning of each day, we now get to gain the current main ingredient and then either gain 2 points or visit the study. I'm happy to say I now have a water mint sorbet dessert recipe, which is looking very tasty to Miss Ruby May. Almost there. I need to get myself one more of these water plants, aquatic plants, a little seaweed. And so based on that, I'm going to use my number 1 action token and just move 1 space to forage 3 times. I think this time I'm going to gain, of course, 1 of the seaweeds. And then let's grab 2 more of the raspberries. Next, I think it's time to visit the library. And so I'm going to travel to 1, 2. I'm adjacent to mushroom. So I'll take out the mushroom book and grab this benefit, which when foraging, if I'm adjacent to mushroom, I'll gain an extra point. Replacing that skill, this will gain garlic if I'm adjacent to garlic. 2 resources of garlic there. I'm going to use my number 3 to travel 1, 2, -1, so I land on the picnic table and I can prepare a dish. Let's do the water mint sorbet for Miss Ruby May. We have the 2 seaweed and 1 raspberry. It's worth 4 points. Gets replaced by a fried puffball. I am, in fact, adjacent to a raspberry here, so I get that extra point. Then we're going to travel 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again on a picnic table. So I'm going to serve Miss Ruby May her dishes. We'll get points from her at game end. However, for now, let's read story point 133. A time what? Miss Ruby May gasps, nearly spilling the food you served her, as Dominic smiles nervously. She grabs your arm, pulling you aside urgently. Honey, I've seen my fair share of odd folks, but a time master? She exclaims incredulously. I can't fix this man's troubles with a wrench. He needs a doctor, not a mechanic. You assure Ruby that despite its unorthodox nature, you trust Dominic's story. After some convincing, she reluctantly agrees to give it a try. Dominic reveals his time device, and though initially bewildered, Ruby musters the courage to tackle the task. Miraculously, the device begins to emit a gentle glow, eliciting shouts of joy from Dominic. I just changed the batteries, Ruby whispers to you. As Dominic dances gleefully while cradling the pigeon he had affectionately named Gigi. You owe me big time, Ruby scolds, her faux skull hiding her amusement as you depart from her shop. Now, onward to find the time culprit, Dominic declares. Forager, join me once more. I need your exceptional skills to help unearth the perpetrator. With his device repaired, Dominic projects a hologram displaying a vibrant blue mushroom with pink spots. Take a good look at this peculiar specimen, he remarks. It's somehow connected to the person tangled in the wrong timeline. If we can locate it, we will discover their whereabouts. Milestone 4. Search the guest deck for Lilani and then draw 5 additional random guest cards. Shuffle all 6 cards and then place them out to form a supply of guests. But instead of placing them face up, place them face down. Place 2 mushroom fungus ingredients on each face down guest in this supply. We have a new rule! Guests cannot be served or discarded if they are face down in the supply. Whenever you gain a fungus ingredient token, you may take it from a guest card in the supply instead of the normal token supply. When a guest in the supply no longer has any tokens on it, flip it face up. And then if the guest you reveal is Leilani, immediately serve her without paying her cost or needing to be in a picnic zone. Ooh, all right, let's find Leilani. I'm really enjoying this story, by the way. I haven't done it before, this is all new to me. Okay, well, we have Leilani shuffled into this mystery deck. Let's pop them out. I don't know which one she is. Time to go mushroom hunting. Let's see. I can 1 to 4. I'm gonna travel 1, 2, 3, 4 and forage right here with this mushroom. And I get an extra bonus point because I'm next to the mushroom. So that was a really good skill to get actually for this. There's my bonus point. And you know it, I'm gonna get 3 mushrooms. Let's try somewhere in the middle. Let's try 1, 2. Is it Leilani? Ah, no, we find the Zhao twins. Let's try 1 more here. Okay. But it's the end of my day. Well, I think I'm absolutely going to use number 4, so I get to forage twice and take 2 more mushrooms from any card. Let's try this one and this one. So let's see. Oh, okay, that was, I did in fact find Leilani. That was actually a lot easier than I was expecting. I got lucky there. She's worth 5 points. I get to serve her immediately without needing to be in a picnic zone or paying her cost, meaning we get to read story point 142. Stop right there, you criminal. Dominic's triumphant shout rings out, his voice carrying both authority and mystery. You're guilty of committing serious time crimes. Leilani gasps in fear and awe, scrambling deeper into the bushes, her eyes wide with disbelief. You found me, she whimpers, with a mix of resignation and surprise. That's right, Dominic declares confidently. Now it's time to face the consequences. He raises his hand, clutching his phaser, which now emits a faint, otherworldly glow. But before he can take action, Gigi swoops down from Dominic's shoulder, swiftly snatching the device and soaring high into the sky. No! My weapon! Dominic exclaims with the pain of betrayal in his voice. Curse you, paradox pigeon! I always knew your kind couldn't be trusted. As doubts cloud your mind about the seriousness of these events, Dominic swiftly composes himself, wearing a mysterious grin. All right, I'll come up with a different plan. Get out of here. Go back to where you belong. He waves his hand in dismissal, urging Leilani away. Shoo, go on. You stand there, a witness to this bewildering scene. Okay, I'll go. I never liked your dumb timeline anyway. Leilani cries as she runs off into the distance, a mix of defiance and resignation in her retreat. That worked, yes, Dominic exclaims, his excitement echoing through the air. I can feel her presence fading already. This timeline will be just fine, thanks to me. You cough, acknowledging your own part in this mysterious adventure, yet still unsure of the truth beneath the surface. And you, my dear friend, played your role brilliantly. Dominic whispers, his words carrying an air of mystery. But our journey together must come to an end. Dominic puts his hand on your cheek. This isn't my true timeline, and I must leave. He backs away, holding up his time-traveling device as he gestures towards an uncertain future. Goodbye, my friend. Maybe we'll meet again in another time. With a resounding crack that fills the air, smoke billows around you, momentarily blocking your vision. Through the dissipating haze, you believe you catch a final glimpse of Dominic's silhouette running off into the distance. Once the smoke clears, Dominic is gone, leaving behind a sense of wonder and a tapestry of unanswered questions. All milestones complete, woo! Discard any fungus ingredients on cards in the supply and flip those guests face up. Reveal guest cards from the top of the guest deck until there are 6 in the supply, and then continue to play the remainder of the game like normal. Read entry 999 when the game is complete. Woo! That was fun! So these go back in. Now we want to try and make as many points as possible. Let's fill these up. I only have 2 days left, so it is time, I think, to start trying to get a few jars if possible. I see one here on the Zhao twins. They're looking for dessert, which I don't have, and a recipe of my choice. So I'm going to travel 1 right here to this picnic table and go ahead and let's do a fried puffball. It's worth 2 points. And we'll use up 4 of my mushrooms. We find a cocktail, the hickory nut milk. I'm gonna move twice. 1, 2, gaining a point as I'm adjacent to the mushroom. And then I get to forage 3 times. So let's grab 2 raspberries and an acorn. Then I'm gonna move 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I'm not adjacent to mushrooms, but I can forage 3 times. And this time I'm gonna get some flowers, I think. Let's get 2 flowers and 2 leafy greens. Moving twice. No, actually, I'll move 2, 3, 4 times so that I am adjacent to the raspberry and I get the point. 36. And I'm gonna do the elderberry lemonade. That is worth 2 points, 3 raspberries. Fantastic, we find a dessert that's looking for acorns and bark, but it is the end of my day. So I'm gonna put my 1 to 4 out and forage twice for the 2 acorns. Then as I'm in Alaska, I get to gain 1 of the current main ingredients, which is also an acorn. And then I can study. So let's grab this forest action, which is right next to the raspberry. Forage skill. I'm going to move 2, 1, 2, plus or minus 1, 3. So I'm next to the picnic table and the raspberry for the extra point. I do get to forage. Let's grab an extra raspberry. I'm going to serve the Zhao twins. They were looking for dessert and an ingredient of my choice. So when served, I can move to any empty space and then study. So the first thing I'm going to do is return a book for the raspberry, which gives me space. They're also worth 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to move to here and grab this main ingredient right there. Refilling. Another plus or minus 1 movement. Ooh, I would love to be able to serve chunk for those end of game points. Let's see if we can do it. I'm going to move 1 to here and prepare. I am adjacent to the raspberry, so I get a point. I also get to forage. Why not grab another raspberry? I'm going to prepare the black walnut pie, which is worth 6 points. Refilling with the pine nut pesto pizza. 4 acorns, 3 bark. And then I'm going to move 3, 1, 2, 3 to serve chunk. And at game end, I'll gain 11 points if I can discard 10 ingredients. So let's check the end of game. So it's the end of the day, first of all. I'm gonna place out my number 1 and just go ahead and gain those 2 points. We didn't move our jar at all. I now have 2 of the symbols on my board, but I would only gained 3 points by doing that. And you'll see why I wanted to keep hold of these ingredients as we look at the game end points. Miss Ruby May is giving me a point for every skill. So I'm gaining 7 points. Unfortunately, if I'd had just one more skill, it would have been an extra 7. Next, we have Chonk, and in exchange for 10 of my ingredients, Chonk is going to give me 11 points. I would gain a victory point for every 4 ingredients, but I just gave Chonk 10, leaving me with just this one mushroom left over. So no extra points for me. So we total up the pollinator and the jar that didn't move. So I get 72 total, but it's not over yet. Let's read 999. As your wild adventure nears its end, a strange thought lingers in your mind. Was any of it even real? Did you truly just play a part in saving your own timeline? The idea tickles your funny bone and you can't help but giggle. Hey, let's not overthink it, you tell yourself with a shrug, deciding to embrace the mystery rather than unravel it. A couple of weeks later, a letter arrives, bearing the mark of an unknown sender. Intrigued, you open it to find a heartfelt message nestled within. Dearest Forager, our time together was but a fleeting moment, yet it holds a special place in my heart. Though it saddens me to acknowledge that our paths may never cross again, I am grateful for the moments we shared. Please continue to share your passion for foraging with the world. While it may seem like a modest endeavour to you, I have witnessed, through the veils of time, how it blossoms into something far greater than you can imagine. Even in our moments of insignificance, it is the threads that connect us, that bind us to our purpose within the vast tapestry of time. Forever your time master, Dominic. And that is the end of the scenario. I thought that was really fun. I managed to get 71 victory points, which means that I have an epic achievement. I think it's fun that you have that little push to compete for points at the end on top of the story. These are really cool solo stories. Thank you for joining me on my little time traveling adventure. And I hope that you enjoyed the game as much as I did. Please like and subscribe and do all the things. Bye.